afternoon. Welcome to Debbie's Back Porch. It's Sunday afternoon. We're in the kitchen, and Fred and I are wanting something quick and easy tonight. Sunday's been a long day. We've had a lot to do, and we just want to have a little comfort food tonight. So we're going to make biscuits, which are already in the oven, and I'm going to make some beef and gravy. We'll serve it along with some fruit, and perhaps even a little salsa for flavor. But the main thing I'd like to show you tonight is how to make gravy. Once you master the basic milk gravy, you can make any kind of gravy, or for that matter, any kind of sauce that is a cream-based sauce. So I'm going to spend a little time showing you how I made gravy. And when we're done, I'll show you the biscuits, which I have in another video. So let's get ready, and I'm going to make some beef and gravy. Okay, this is where we start. I like to cook in cast iron. This particular piece of cast iron is a very old, probably about 70-year-old Griswold skillet. It was a gift from Lisa Dye, who is in our Cooking from Scratch on Debbie's Back Porch Facebook group, and I use it most days. It's my go-to skillet when I want something just a little bit bigger. I have some fresh ground beef. I have 4 tablespoons full of flour measured out. We will get 4 tablespoons of oil from our ground beef, and a little over 2 cups of milk. And I'll show you the process as I go along. Okay, on medium heat, we're going to crumble some ground beef. I'm actually not going to use a whole pound. It's just Fred and me. That would be a waste. This has been in the refrigerator. I'm going to put it back in the refrigerator and use it for lunch tomorrow. No longer than that, unfrozen. So crumble it up a little. And that's about half a pound. I have my heat. It's a little high, but I do want the beef to get crispy, and as it sizzles, I'll come back. Okay, the beef is browning up nicely. I want it to have just a little bit of crackle to it. You don't have to do that. That's just how I like it. And this beef is not particularly lean beef. There is some grease cooking out of it. If you have a really lean ground beef, there may not be enough fat that cooks out of it to make your gravy, and you may have to add some. I suggest lard. You can use oil if you prefer. I'm going to take this up. I'm going to drain the beef on a paper towel to get out any excess oil, because I'm going to use a measured amount of oil. Turn my heat off for a minute. Yes, it's very noisy. And I'm going to pour the rest of the oil so that I can measure it. I'm going to need 4 tablespoons full, so I don't think I have exactly 4 tablespoons full. I will add just a little bit more. So I just happen to have lard here because I just always happen to have lard here. That's 1 tablespoon. 2. 3, Need one more. Four. So that's 4 tablespoons full of fat, whatever kind of fat you decide to use. Lard, Crisco, drippings. Bacon drippings are wonderful. And if you're making sausage gravy, then you're probably going to have plenty of drippings from that. But you do need to sort of measure. When you've done it for enough years, you can estimate, guesstimate. But we want to be pretty close because I'm making this for you and for Fred. So we're going to let that melt. Okay, all melted. Now I'm going to make what's basically called a roux. Anytime you have fat and a thickener, like flour, and you mix it together as a basis for a sauce or a gravy, it's called a roux. This will be fairly noisy when I start scraping it, so I'll try not to talk too much. That's 4 tablespoons full of flour. I use self-rising flour as my main flour. Unless I were baking something like a pie crust, I use self-rising. So if you'll see, this begins to take on a brown color. And that's where the color for your gravy comes from. And we're letting this simmer for a little while, not only for the color, but for the taste. If you did it too quickly, the taste would be pasty. So we're letting the oil and the flour cook together. And what you have here is a roux. And it needs to cook together for about a minute or 2. A lot of it depends on the color you want. And I think we have a pretty good color there. I have measured out 2 cups of cold milk, hot roux, cold liquid. If you were making, say, cheese sauce, you would start with 4 tablespoons full of butter, 4 tablespoons full of thickener, either flour or cornstarch. You would not use a metal pan and a metal spatula. You would use an enamel coated or a glass or non-reactive pan in order to keep your color light. With gravy, we kind of like the brown. If I were making brown gravy, I would add, instead of milk, I would add broth. Chicken gravy, I would add chicken broth. But this is the basis of most sauces and gravy. I'm going to quickly stir in the milk. I have 2 cups measured out. It might need as much as 2.5 cups based on how thick we want it. This is whole milk. If I need to add a little bit more, I'll add water. And here we go. Stir as you go. Mix, mix, mix. Okay, we're going to let that simmer just a little bit. We'll turn the heat up just a tad. As I say, if it gets too thick, you can add a little water. We may not need to, but as it simmers, I will add the beef back in. I'll come back to you in just a minute. Okay, as you can see, it's starting to bubble and thicken. I'm going to add the beef back to it. You'll notice now I added no salt. That's because I used self-rising flour, which has salt. If you use all-purpose flour, you will need to add Salt to taste. We're going to let it simmer just another minute because we do want nice thick gravy. It's still a little bit thin. You see we have a nice bubble there. Shouldn't take longer than a minute. And we are getting that nice gravy thickness. Looks done to me. Well, here we have it. A quick and easy supper. Yes, it's high carb. It is comfort food. But what we have is good hot biscuits and some thick, rich beef and milk gravy. We'll add a little fruit and we'll enjoy. Thank you for watching on Debbie's Back Porch.